I was in the middle of a 12-page report when my phone lit up with my mom's name. Not a text, a call. That alone was strange. She hates phone calls. She sends voice notes, GIFs, call me later messages. But calling me during work hours? That usually meant something serious. Last time she called before 5 p.m. was when my grandmother slipped in the shower. So I answered. Hey, Mom, I'm in the middle of… Good, she said. Then listen. You'll need to wire $50,000 to your brother. Before Christmas. My fingers froze above the keyboard. 50,000? Yes, she repeated, bored, like she was confirming the price of paper towels. He's run into a little problem with his startup. It's normal. These things happen. And you're the only one in the family who actually has real money. That sentence, you're the only one who has real money, hit harder than the amount. Mom, I said slowly, are you asking me? No, she answered, and her tone sharpened. Your family. This is your responsibility. We raised you better than to watch your brother drown. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. So you're telling me I have to pay his debt because it's your duty, she snapped. You're successful. He needs help. We're not discussing this. In the background, I heard the TV and Dad's voice. I didn't hear him object. I already knew what that meant. Dad agrees with this? I asked anyway. He's right here. A muffled cough. Then Dad's monotone. It's the right thing to do, son. Of course it was, because it didn't cost him a cent. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. The family group chat. Max. That was his only contribution. A thumbs-up emoji for $50,000. I stared at it so long the screen dimmed. Mom, I said finally, you didn't even ask if I could help. Don't play games, she said sharply. We know what you make. We know what you save. You have enough. This isn't optional. If you refuse to help your own brother… Her voice turned ice cold. Don't you dare spend Christmas with us. There it was. The ultimatum. The emotional invoice. I exhaled through my nose, closed my laptop, and leaned back in my chair. My coworkers were laughing about something in the hallway. My project deadlines flashed in the corner of my screen. My coffee was getting cold. And in the middle of all of that, my family had just announced a $50,000 bill like they were reading the electricity meter. I'm not sending the money, I said quietly. Mom didn't gasp. She didn't ask why. She didn't even pretend to care about my reasoning. Her tone dropped even lower. Then don't come home, she said. If you walk away from this responsibility, you walk away from this family. Dad said nothing. So, again, he agreed. Another buzz. Max. Bro, seriously, just fix it. Stop being dramatic. And that was the moment, the exact second, something in me flipped. Not a loud break, not anger, not humiliation, clarity, a clarity I should have had years ago. They weren't asking me for help. They weren't even expecting it. They were entitled to it. In their minds, my accomplishments weren't mine. My money wasn't mine. My future wasn't mine. I was the family backup generator. Always on, always available, always paying. I looked at my reflection in the black laptop screen. Same face, same clothes, same office, different mind. They thought threatening me with losing them would scare me. Instead, it felt like they'd opened a door I'd been too afraid to touch. Okay, I said simply. Mom paused. Okay. What? Okay, I repeated and hung up. No speech. No arguing. No guilt. I set the phone face down on the desk and let the silence settle. And I knew, with bone-deep certainty, that I wouldn't be spending Christmas with them, or any other holiday or any other year, under the same rules ever again. I wish I could say I went back to work after hanging up on my mom. I didn't. I stared at my screen, the cursor blinking like it was tapping its foot, waiting for me to return to being the version of myself everyone relied on. But something fundamental had shifted. My phone buzzed again. A new message from the family group chat. Max, you're being weird about this. Just send it. Just send it. as if $50,000 was pocket change, as if I was a malfunctioning ATM. I locked my screen and pushed away from the desk. My manager passed by, juggling 2 coffees, and asked if I was ready for the afternoon presentation. I forced a smile and nodded. Because that's who I was here. The guy who always had his act together. But inside, a different script was loading. Not the dutiful son. Not the fallback provider. Not the emotional punching bag. Someone else. I walked into the hallway pretending to need a breather. Not pretending, honestly. My heart wasn't racing. Strangely, it was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm you feel right before every piece of denial inside you collapses at once. I leaned against the window and watched cars crawling through downtown like ants. People heading somewhere they wanted to be. People who weren't expected to bankroll another adult's stupidity. Then my phone buzzed again. Mom. We'll make this simple. If you refuse, you're choosing to break this family. You're choosing distance. You're choosing selfishness. Dad. This isn't how we raised you. Raised me? To do what? Pick up after their favorite child forever? Another message. Dad. We're counting on you. Don't disappoint us. And that was the moment the clarity became complete. I wasn't disappointing them. I was no longer obeying them. There's a difference. I walked back to my desk, but instead of opening the financial report, I opened another folder, one I hadn't touched in months. Relocation opportunities. I'd collected job offers and messages from recruiters over the last year and saved them for later. Later meant never, because I lived within driving distance of my parents and because guilt is the heaviest chain you can wrap around your own ankles. The first email on the list was from a company on the West Coast that had wanted to fast-track me for a senior role. Great benefits, huge salary increase, relocation package. I had ignored it when it arrived, because I was comfortable, because things were fine, because my family needed me, needed my money, that is. Now I clicked it open, reread the offer, and for the first time saw it for what it really was. A door. Wide open. Waiting. I hit reply. Is this position still available? I'm open to interviewing immediately. My heart didn't pound. My hands didn't tremble. It felt like sending a routine work email. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. New email. Yes. Can you do a video interview in 1 hour? 1 hour. Perfect. I spent the next 40 minutes in the office bathroom splashing water on my face, fixing my tie, straightening up. Not because I wanted to impress them, because I wanted to look like someone who had already stepped into a new version of himself. The interview was clean, efficient, professional. They asked what I was looking for. I said growth. They asked why now. I told them the truth. It was time. They asked when I could start. Immediately. At the end of the call, the hiring manager smiled. We'd love to have you, sending the offer now. I stood there, staring at my inbox, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something like oxygen filling my lungs properly. A new job, a new city, a clean break. I grabbed my bag, walked out of the office, and texted my manager the truth. Family emergency. I need to leave for a few days. Not a lie. Just not the version of the story my family would tell. On the drive home, my phone kept buzzing in the cup holder. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I knew what the text would say already. More guilt, more orders, more entitlement. My parents weren't worried about me. They were worried about their deadline. Before Christmas, before Christmas, before Christmas. As if it was a seasonal subscription they expected me to renew. At home, I pulled out a suitcase. Not the small, weekend one. The big one. The one you pack when you're not sure when, or if, you're coming back. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, work clothes, laptop, USB drives, passport, the essentials. I stood in my living room, suitcase open, phone buzzing with another incoming call, and realized the most important truth of all. There was nothing in this apartment worth staying for except the habit of staying. And habit was not a good enough reason anymore. The moment I zipped the suitcase shut, something inside me clicked into alignment. A straight line where a crooked one had always been. I wasn't running away. I was finally walking towards something that belonged to me. At 10:42 p.m., I booked a one-way ticket out of state. At 12:15 a.m., I locked my apartment door behind me. At 3:03 a.m., I was sitting at the gate waiting for boarding. My phone buzzed again. Mom. I hope you're thinking clearly. Your brother is counting on you. I put the phone face down. When the boarding announcement played, I stood up, grabbed my suitcase, and walked toward the jet bridge without looking back. My family thought they'd given me an ultimatum. They'd actually given me a starting point. When the plane touched down just after sunrise, I felt nothing familiar. No tug of guilt. No automatic instinct to text my parents landed. No urge to check whether Max had sent more entitled reminders. Just silence. The kind of silence that feels like a reset button. Passengers around me were already fighting for overhead luggage, stretching, complaining about the temperature. I stayed seated for a moment, watching my breath fog slightly in the cold cabin air, realizing that for the first time in my adult life, I had no obligations within a 100-mile radius. My phone reconnected to the network with a vengeance. Buzz, 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 buzz. Like a hive coming to life. I didn't open anything yet. I walked off the plane, into the bright terminal, and let the noise wash over me. Rolling suitcases, crying toddler, chatter, announcements. All of it blended into a kind of comforting static. Something my family had never provided. Anonymity. I sat down at an empty gate, finally picked up my phone and swiped open the notifications. And there it was. The collapse. 38 missed calls from Mom, 19 from Dad, 7 from Max, and dozens, literally dozens, of messages. The first wave was demanding. Mom, where are you? We need to discuss the transfer. Dad, we're waiting for confirmation. Max, bro, come on. It's almost Christmas. Then the tone shifted. I scrolled. Mom, why did the power shut off? The house is dark. The internet isn't working either. Fix it. Dad, phone bill overdue? That can't be right. Your mother's card declined at the store. Did something happen? Then the panic sharpened. Mom, the emergency savings account is empty. Explain. Robert can't use the card you set up for him. They said the authorization was removed. Is this a glitch or did you do something? Dad, this better be a technical issue. If you touch the accounts, we are going to have a serious discussion. That one made me laugh out loud, right there in the terminal. A serious discussion? Like we were colleagues reviewing quarterly losses? Then came the breaking point. Mom, we literally cannot order groceries. The apps are linked to your card. Fix it, now. Dad, stop ignoring us and do something. And finally, hours later, at 4:07 a.m., the message that was supposed to guilt-trip me back into submission. Mom, this is cruel. After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us? Your brother is panicking. We can't live like this. That line, after all we've done for you, landed like a joke told too late at a party that already ended. I scrolled again. Then I saw the last one. From Max. 4:13 a.m. Bro, what did you do? Dad's losing it. Not a thank you. Not an apology. Not even an acknowledgement of the boundary I'd finally drawn. Just shock that the ATM had shut down. I locked the phone and let my head fall back against the chair. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't punishment. This was correction. A system reset. The truth was simple. They weren't suffering. They were merely experiencing the absence of free labor and free money they'd built their lives around. And they had the audacity to call that cruel. I stood up, rolled my suitcase toward a coffee kiosk, ordered a black coffee, sat at another gate, opened my laptop, and connected to the airport Wi-Fi. Time to untangle the last of the financial web. I logged into my main bank account. The numbers refreshed. Utilities, canceled. Streaming bundle, canceled. Emergency fund, transferred. Authorized user, removed. But there were still 2 more things to handle. The things I hadn't touched yet because they required identity steps. The family phone plan. And the shared cloud storage account. Both were still under my name. Both still linked to my payment method, both quietly draining money every month. I navigated to the telecom site first. 4 lines. Mine. Dad's. Mom's. Max's. The 3 of them were under my primary responsibility. Funny, they had never behaved like they were under my responsibility, except financially. I clicked the menu. Remove from plan. Transfer billing ownership. I initiated both processes. A pop-up appeared. Once complete, these lines will no longer have access to your benefits or payment method, I confirmed. Same with the cloud plan. I kicked all 3 of them out. Years of photos, documents, shared passcodes, shared subscriptions, gone from my account forever. My laptop chimed twice. Emails arrived. Your transfer request has been submitted. Your shared members have been removed. Good. Clean. Final. I sipped my coffee, watching business travelers argue about boarding groups, and felt a strange warmth in my chest. Not triumph, not spite, relief. For once in my life, I wasn't fixing the crisis. I wasn't patching over someone's mess. I wasn't the stabilizer holding other people's chaos together. They had created the chaos. And now, finally, they could organize it themselves. My phone buzzed again. One new message. Dad. I didn't want to read it, but curiosity won. Dad. Your mother is crying. I hope you're satisfied. That was it. No acknowledgement of the money. No reflection. No accountability. Just emotional blackmail with a sprinkling of shame. I stood up, tossed the empty cup, and walked toward the exit signs. Satisfied? No. Not satisfied. Liberated. I ordered a rideshare, stepped outside into the cold morning air of a city that didn't know me yet, and took a deep breath. Today, I would check into the temporary housing my new job set up. Tomorrow, I'd start orientation. Next week, I'd sign a lease. My rideshare driver was one of those overly cheerful morning people who shouldn't legally be allowed to speak before 10 a.m. He kept trying to make small talk, weather, coffee preferences, sports, but I barely heard him. My phone vibrated nonstop in my pocket like a trapped wasp. By the time we reached the temporary corporate apartment, there were 92 unread messages. I didn't open any of them. The building lobby was sleek, modern, full of people in suits rushing to meetings. I checked in, got the key card, took the elevator to the 9th floor, and stepped into a spotless, minimalist studio that smelled like new carpet and lemons. It wasn't home, but it was neutral territory, a clean slate. I dropped my suitcase, plugged in my phone, and showered. Hot water. Quiet. No one pounding on the bathroom door demanding I fix something. When I stepped out, the phone lit up again. Incoming call. Dad. I stared at the screen. A part of me wanted to ignore it again. But no, not this time. If I didn't take at least one call, they'd build their own narrative. He abandoned us. He ran away with no explanation. He's selfish. And as much as I didn't owe them closure, I wanted to say, clearly, calmly, what they had never allowed me to say growing up. I answered. Dad exhaled like he'd been underwater. Where are you? I waited a full second before answering. Not there. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. He sucked in a breath. Your mother hasn't slept all night. She thinks you're having some breakdown. She's terrified. Right. That's exactly what people feel when the grocery delivery app declines. What do you want, Dad? What do I want? He snapped. I want to know why every account under your name suddenly shut down. Why the utility payments stopped. Why your mother's card didn't go through for basic necessities. Why you would do something so reckless. Reckless, I repeated. Not a question. A diagnosis. Yes, he said loudly. Your actions have consequences, young man. Young man. I'm nearly 30. For a moment, I just listened to him breathe. Long, frustrated exhales. And then the quiet voice in my head, the one I'd ignored my whole life, said, tell him the truth. The truth they never let you say. So I did. I didn't shut the accounts down, I said. Well, someone sure as hell did. I stopped paying for them, I corrected. Silence. A hard, stunned silence. You what? I stopped paying for things that should have never been my responsibility in the first place. He let out an incredulous laugh. We depended on those. I know, I said. You depended on me, constantly, quietly, without asking, without contributing, without ever acknowledging what it cost me. That's ridiculous. Utilities, I said calmly. Streaming services, phone plan, the emergency account, the credit card you've had access to for 5 years. All tied to me. All draining my money every month. All assumed to be permanent. Dad tried to interrupt. I didn't let him. And when I finally said no to sending $50,000, not a favor, not a loan, a demand, Mom's response wasn't concern. It wasn't even surprise. It was, if you don't obey, don't come home. He didn't speak. I took that seriously, I finished. Dad inhaled sharply, then exhaled through his teeth. You're blowing this out of proportion. A family supports each other. A family asks, I said. You ordered. This is because of your mother's tone? You're tearing the family apart because of a tone. I laughed. Really laughed. Because that line perfectly summed up the decades-long delusion. It's not about a tone, I said. It's about a pattern, and I'm done enabling it. Dad's voice hardened. Well, he said, your brother is devastated. He thinks you hate him. I don't hate him, I said, but I'm done being his safety net. If he wants a startup, he can fund it. If he wants credit, he can earn it. If he wants to fail, he can face consequences like the rest of us. This isn't how we raised you. You raised me to be responsible, I said, not to be exploited. Dad's breath caught, a rare moment where he had no retort. Then, softly, you left. For the first time ever, his voice cracked. I froze. You actually left, he repeated, like he was only now understanding the finality. Yes, I said. Why? He whispered. And now was the moment. Not for anger. Not for guilt tripping back at them. For clarity. Because staying made me a stranger to myself, I said. Because every accomplishment I had became a resource for you, not something I could feel proud of. Because you never saw me as an adult with boundaries, just a wallet with legs. Dad didn't yell. He didn't deny it. He didn't call me dramatic. He said the most honest thing he had said in years. I didn't realize, his voice trembled, how much we relied on you. There it was. The first admission. The first crack in the wall. But cracks don't fix structures. They reveal what needs to fall. I'm starting a new job tomorrow, I said. In a new city. I need space. I need distance. I need a chance to build a life that isn't anchored to someone else's demands. He swallowed. And Christmas? I won't be there. A long silence. Then, quietly, your mother won't take that well. That's not my responsibility anymore. The line stayed quiet for another 10 seconds. Then Dad said, I hope, someday, you'll come back. Someday, I said gently, when I'm treated like family, not infrastructure. And I ended the call. Not slammed, not emotional, just ended. A clean cut. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, feeling my heart settle into a rhythm that felt right, straight, balanced. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't attacked. I hadn't justified. I'd finally spoken the truth in a house where truths had always been filtered through someone else's comfort. My phone buzzed again, this time a text from Mom. Your father is upset. Are you proud of yourself? I turned the phone face down. I didn't feel guilty. By the time noon rolled around, I had showered, shaved, unpacked my essentials, ironed a shirt, and eaten a protein bar I found in the corporate welcome basket. It was the first normal morning I'd had in years. No errands, no surprise crises, no, can you swing by the house to help your brother real quick? Requests. Just me. In a quiet apartment. Preparing for a new life. Then my phone buzzed again. Not from Mom. Not from Dad. Not from Max. This time it was my aunt, my mom's sister, a woman who only ever called for two reasons: gossip or intervention. I sighed and picked up. Aunt Linda? Oh, thank God, she said immediately, her voice sharp but relieved. Your mother is having a fit. I mean a fit. She called me sobbing, saying you've gone rogue and attacked the family's stability. What on earth is happening? There it was. The narrative. Already forming. Nothing is happening, I said calmly. I just stopped paying for things I never agreed to pay for long term. Stopped paying? She repeated, like she had misheard. Yes, utilities, phone plans, subscriptions, the emergency account. Oh, honey, she cut in. You were paying for all of that? Her tone changed instantly. Not judgment, not anger, shock. Yes, I said. For how long? Years. Linda let out a slow, drawn-out whistle. They never told anyone that. Of course they hadn't. Why would they? It would have exposed the entire imbalance. She exhaled again. Your mother made it sound like you drained their retirement or stole something. She said you cut them off from their own accounts. I cut them off from my accounts, I corrected. Aunt Linda wasn't stupid. She jumped on that wording immediately. Wait. Their accounts were under your name? Yes. Oh my God, she whispered. No wonder they're panicking. She paused. So, is this about the 50,000? Yes. What did Max do this time? Startup debt. Of course, she muttered. The child couldn't run a lemonade stand without filing bankruptcy. I huffed a short laugh. Linda had always been blunt, but this was the first time her bluntness was working in my favor. Then she got quiet. Your mother said you're refusing to come home for Christmas. I am. Another beat of silence. Good, she said. That one word hit harder than anything I expected. Good? I repeated. Yes, she said. Your parents have leaned on you far too much for far too long. I've told your mother this repeatedly. She dismisses me every time. She acts like you're made of money, that it's your duty to help them. That's exactly the word she used, I said. Duty, Linda groaned. She treats you like an income source, not a son. And your father? He just follows along because it's convenient. And Max? Well, Max is Max. He's been coddled since preschool. I sat down on the edge of the bed, processing her words. You're not wrong, I said quietly. Honey, I know I'm not wrong, she replied. Your mother asked me to talk sense into you, to tell you to fix the accounts and do the right thing. But I'm telling you the truth instead. What you did was overdue. A lump formed in my throat. Not emotional, but a heaviness of realization. Someone finally saw the picture clearly. Linda lowered her voice. And between you and me, the way they've been talking, they're not upset about losing you. They're upset about losing your money. There it was. Said plainly. Said without hesitation. The truth I'd known but never allowed myself to say. I swallowed. So they're still demanding the 50,000? Oh yes, your mother said, and I quote, he'll come to his senses before Christmas. I laughed. A full, unrestrained laugh. Linda chuckled too. Honestly, good for you, she said. A clean break might finally teach them reality. We talked a few more minutes, mostly Linda venting about Max's past disasters. And then she ended with, and listen, if your mother keeps spiraling, she might show up at your old apartment. You better be somewhere far away. I already am. Good boy, she said, and hung up. I stared at the phone for a long moment after the call ended. It hit me. This was the first family conversation in my adult life that didn't make me feel small, or guilty, or obligated. Just understood. But that moment of peace didn't last long. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. No caller ID. I almost declined. Then curiosity won. Hello? A stern voice answered. Is this the financial sponsor for the Roberts household? I blinked. The what? I'm calling from Metropower customer accounts, the woman said. The Roberts household has an abrupt shutdown of automatic billing. and they've listed you as the primary on-file responsible party. We're trying to understand what happened. Oh my God. They actually gave my number to the utility companies. I pinched the bridge of my nose. I am not the responsible party, I said firmly. That account needs to be transferred to the actual residents. Silence on her end. Typing. Clicking. Oh, I see, she said. It appears they've been using your payment method for 38 months. Correct. And that's no longer the case. Correct. The woman paused. Well, she said, professional but sympathetic. They are currently without electricity. They were very insistent we contact you. Of course they were. Transfer ownership to them, I said. They can provide their own payment method. Understood. I'll note the account accordingly. I thanked her and hung up. 40 seconds later, another incoming call. This time from the internet provider. Followed by one from the phone plan company. Followed by one from the cloud subscription center. They were all trying to reach the same person. The one who used to fix everything. The family's financial spine. The walking autopay. Me. Not anymore. I forwarded every number to voicemail, threw my phone onto the couch and rubbed my temples. This wasn't just a boundary. It was a dismantling. A total shutdown of an ecosystem that had quietly fed on me for years. And now that it was collapsing, everyone outside my immediate family was suddenly seeing how lopsided it had been. A knock sounded on my door, housekeeping bringing extra towels. I thanked the woman, closed the door, leaned against it, and exhaled deeply. Tomorrow I'll start my new job. Today, the old world was still burning. But I wasn't the fire department. The next morning, my alarm went off at 6:30 a.m., and for a split second, my brain did what it always did. You have to check in with mom. You have to see if anyone needs anything. You have to mentally budget how much of your time and money is already spoken for. Then I remembered. No, I didn't. I lay there in the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling of the temporary apartment, and let that sink in. No one knew my address here. No one had a key. No one could pop by just for a minute that turned into 5 unpaid hours of labor. I showered, dressed, and actually took my time picking a shirt. Not the most professional one. Not the one that would impress mom if she saw a photo. Just the one I liked. My phone was face down on the nightstand. I could feel it buzzing every few minutes. Not yet. I made coffee in the tiny kitchen, burnt the first toast, laughed at myself, made another. It felt stupidly symbolic. I used to wake up into everyone else's emergencies. Today, the biggest crisis was slightly charred bread. At 8:15, I finally picked up my phone. 96 unread messages. I didn't open the family chat. Not yet. I scanned the preview lines like headlines. Mom. This is beyond selfish. Dad. We are done with this behavior. Mom. You've turned your back on your own blood. Max. Bro, answer your phone. It's not that serious. Then one more from Max. They're talking about taking a loan. They're freaking out. Just talk to them, man. Interesting. When I didn't immediately cave, the tone had shifted from entitled to panicked to desperate. I locked the screen. They'd survive. For the first time in their lives, they'd actually have to act like adults. I slipped the phone into my pocket, grabbed my bag, and headed out. The new office was 20 minutes away by tram. I stood in the crowded carriage, surrounded by strangers in headphones and winter coats, and felt oddly light. Like I'd finally stepped out of a costume I'd been sewn into at birth. The building itself was ridiculous. Glass, steel, a lobby big enough to fit my parents' entire house twice. I checked in at reception, got my photo taken for a badge, and followed the HR coordinator through a maze of hallways. Everyone's really excited you're here, she chirped. We've been needing someone with your experience for a while. My experience. Not my money. Not my reliability. Not my ability to quietly fix problems other people caused. We passed clusters of people brainstorming on whiteboards, laughing at inside jokes I wasn't part of yet. No one here knew that 3 states away, my parents were probably pacing a dark living room, wondering how to pay the gas bill without my card. We reached a glass conference room. Inside, 3 people waited. my new direct manager, her boss, and a senior member of the team. I braced myself for the same cold corporate politeness I'd felt in my previous jobs. Instead, my manager smiled like she actually meant it. "Hey, you made it. I'm Jordan." She stood, shook my hand. "We are really glad you said yes." Really glad I said yes. Not grateful you came through for us. Not, we knew you'd do the right thing. A tiny difference. A huge one. The onboarding meeting flew by. We went through systems access, upcoming projects, expectations. They asked what tools I preferred using, what my working style was, what kind of growth I wanted over the next few years. No one asked if I could help out just this once and we'll fix it later. Halfway through, my phone buzzed in my pocket again. Instinctively, I reached for it, then stopped. I wasn't on call anymore. Not like that. When the meeting ended, Jordan walked me to my desk. An actual nice setup by the window, dual monitors, brand new laptop. "If you need anything today," she said, "just ping me. And seriously, we were impressed with your interview. You earned this." Earned this. I swallowed that phrase and let it sit where all the other old narratives used to live. Earned this. Not owe us. Not, you should be grateful we even looked your way. For the first hour, I skimmed documentation, set up logins, customized my workspace. My brain kept trying to wander back to the mess 3 time zones away. Every time it did, I yanked it back. There was a moment, standing at the office coffee machine, waiting for it to spit out something vaguely drinkable, when it hit me. If my parents could see me right now, would they be proud? No. They'd be annoyed. Annoyed I wasn't answering. Annoyed I wasn't solving the problem they'd created. Annoyed my success was no longer something they could spend. That thought should have hurt. It didn't. It just confirmed I was exactly where I needed to be. Around lunch, my phone buzzed again, this time with a different tone. The special one I'd set back when I still thought certain people deserved priority. "Max." "Pick up," I muttered to myself, "so you can stop wondering what he's saying." I slipped into a quiet corner near the emergency exit and answered. "What?" "Wow," he said. "Hello to you too." There was noise in the background, footsteps, the echo-dark sound of a hallway. He'd probably stepped outside so Mom couldn't hear. "You disappeared," he said. "Mom is losing her mind. Dad's acting like someone died. What are you doing?" "Working," I said. "In another state?" "Yes." He let out a breathy laugh, like this was some elaborate prank I was dragging too far. "Okay, look," he said. "I get that you're pissed. But this? Cutting off the accounts? Leaving? Come on, man. You're making a point. Point made. Now fix it before they have a stroke." I leaned my back against the wall. "I didn't leave to make a point, Max," I said. "I left because staying meant I'd never be anything but your personal bailout plan." He went quiet. "I never asked you to do that," he said finally. I laughed, short and sharp. "You didn't have to. They did it for you. Every time you failed, they came to me. Every little loan, every just for now, every you're the only one who can help. You don't have to say the words when the script is already in everyone's mouth. That's not fair," he snapped. "Ask yourself something," I said. "If roles were reversed, if you had the stable job, the savings, the good credit, and I had the debt, would you send me 50 grand because Mom said so?" Silence. I gave him 10 full seconds. He didn't answer. "There it is," I said quietly. He exhaled, frustrated. "Look, man, I get it. Kind of. But they're talking about taking a high-interest loan to cover this. That's going to screw them." "It's not my job to unscrew them," I replied. "They made financial decisions based on money they didn't own. That's on them." "They thought you'd help," he insisted. "Exactly," I said. "That's the problem." He shifted tactics. "So what, you're just gone? That's it? You're never coming back?" "I'm not saying never," I answered. "I'm saying not like this. Not as the default solution to problems I didn't create." He was quiet again. "They think you hate them," he said. "I don't," I answered. "But I finally love myself enough to stop letting them treat me like a resource." He scoffed. "Dude, That sounds like something off a therapist's Pinterest board. Maybe, I said, but it's still true. There was another long pause. Then, softer. So, you're really not sending anything? No. Not, I can't. Not, I'll think about it. Just, no. Max let the word hang. I heard him swallow. You know, he said, and his tone changed, darker, defensively cocky. You might regret this. They're already talking about rewriting their will, about adjusting what you get. That's cute, I said. They can leave everything to you. Seems like they already did. He didn't like that. You're burning bridges, man. Maybe they needed to burn, I said. I pushed off the wall. I've got to get back to work. Yeah, he said. Must be nice, huh? New job, new city, no responsibilities. I almost answered. Almost explained that I still had responsibilities, just finally to myself, not to their endless pit. Instead, I said, it is, and hung up. I slid the phone back into my pocket, took a breath, and walked toward my desk. The old life was screaming across the country, desperate for access. The new one was just beginning to listen to me. For the rest of the workday, I forced myself to stay inside the present moment. New tasks, new tools, new team, new life. But even as I settled into the rhythm, the welcome emails, the Slack invites, the grab lunch with us, small talk, my phone buzzed endlessly in my pocket like a trapped animal. It was impossible to ignore forever. At 3:14 p.m. during a break between onboarding sessions, I finally checked it. 17 new voicemails. Over 60 texts. 4 missed calls from unknown numbers. Probably more companies my parents had sicked on me, trying to get reconnected to my payment methods. I scrolled. Mom, 1:03 p.m. Your brother is having a panic attack. Are you satisfied? Dad, 1:17 p.m. This is childish and cruel. Mom, 1:22 p.m. Your aunt is taking your side. Can you believe that? She's wrong. Dad, 1:40 p.m. If this is about the $50K, we can work something out. Come home. That one almost made me laugh. 2 days ago it was, do this or you're not welcome at Christmas. Now it was, we can work something out. Reversals always happen when consequences arrive. Then I saw the message that told me exactly how chaotic things had become back home. Max, 2:05 p.m. Bro, they're fighting, like really fighting. Mom blamed Dad for letting you get out of hand. Dad blamed Mom for spoiling me. Mom told him he's useless. Dad told her she never earned a dime in her life. It's wild. Then, Max, 2:16 p.m. They said this is your fault because you're the stabilizer and you removed yourself. Dude, what is happening? I stared at that one. Because that word, stabilizer, told me everything. They didn't miss me. They missed what I did for them. What I provided. What I fixed. The moment I stopped being the stabilizer, all the tension they had been hiding behind my support exploded. Then came another message from Max, shorter, more vulnerable than anything he'd ever sent. Max, 2:29 p.m. They're talking about selling the house. I froze, reading it twice. Selling the house? The house they'd lived in for 20 years? The house they'd renovated using my emergency account? The house they bragged about hosting Christmas dinner in? I typed back, why? Max responded immediately, like he'd been staring at the phone waiting. Bills. Dad says without your help we can't stay afloat. There it was. The truth bleeding out of him. Years of quiet dependence becoming a full-blown crisis the moment I stepped out of the picture. Then Max added, I know I joke a lot, but like, did you really carry us that much? I didn't sugarcoat it. Yes. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Max, 2:41 p.m. I didn't realize. It wasn't an apology, but it was an admission. A crack in the golden child delusion. Before I could decide whether to answer, another message came through. From Mom. A paragraph. Long. Desperate. Chaotic. Mom, 2:52 p.m. We're drowning. I hope you're happy. I can't get the prescription I need because the payment method was removed. The phone company wants a deposit we don't have. Your father is useless. Your brother is spiraling. And I'm sitting in a cold house because the power won't be fully restored until billing is updated. Answer your family. No, we miss you. No, are you okay? Just a blame letter written in pure meltdown mode. Then another. Mom, 2:54 p.m. You think you're teaching us a lesson? You think we deserve this? Wait until you have children. Wait until you need help. Wait until the world turns on you. That one made me shut my eyes for a moment. It was wild how quickly family duty became emotional nuclear warfare the moment the free money dried up. But the message that hit me hardest didn't come from mom or dad. It came from my grandmother, my dad's mother, who almost never texted me directly. Grandma, 3:07 p.m. Honey, your father is scared. He is not saying it, but he is. They depended on you too much, all these years. I told them it was wrong. I told them they were treating you like support, not a son. They are embarrassed now. And angry. Please don't think it means they don't love you. I exhaled slowly. This was the first message from a family member that didn't demand, blame, guilt trip, or manipulate. Just honesty. And because it was honest, it also confirmed something painful. My parents had been treating my support as a right, not a gift, for so long that the absence of it felt like abandonment. Not because I abandoned them, but because they never learned to stand on their own. I replied to Grandma, I love you, I'm okay. I just can't keep living the way I was. She answered with one line, I know, and I'm proud of you, even if they won't say it yet. That one landed. Hard. I put the phone down, let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, and looked out the office window. A new city beneath me. A new life in front of me. An entire family system collapsing behind me. Because I removed the pillar they built everything on. My phone vibrated again. A call this time. Mom. I didn't answer. Then another. Dad. Declined. Then a text from Max. They're talking about driving to your apartment to wait for you. I typed back, I moved. Moved where? Far enough. Max sent one more message. Bro, please don't do something permanent. Permanent. I wasn't the one talking about selling a house. I wasn't the one drowning in unpaid bills. I wasn't the one spiraling. I was the one who finally stood up. I was the one starting over. I was the one who'd finally become a person, not a resource. I slipped my phone into my pocket and headed back to my desk. There were still 8 new hire modules to finish. Someone needed me for my skills, not my wallet. That night, after my first full day at the new job, I walked back to the temporary apartment with a bag of groceries, takeout, and a strange, unfamiliar sense of peace riding shotgun. No one called out from the living room asking me to fix Wi-Fi. No one left piles of dishes for me to wash. No one sat me down to lecture me about doing my part. The place was quiet. My life was finally my own. I heated dinner, ate at the small kitchen table, and only then, when my mind had fully shifted out of survival mode, I picked up my phone. There were fewer messages now. The frenzy had slowed. The panic was settling into something else. Silence. I scrolled. Mom, 6:22 p.m. Your grandmother says you spoke to her. Don't take her side. Dad, 7:10 p.m. If you expect us to apologize, we won't. Mom, 7:11 p.m. We did nothing wrong. You're dramatic. Dad, 7:12 p.m. But we do need to talk. Then one from Max. Max, 8:05 p.m. They're exhausted. Mom's been crying off and on. Dad looks 20 years older. The house is quiet. Nobody is talking to anybody. Then a second message. A loan officer came to the house to verify income. It didn't go well. I locked the phone. Not out of cruelty. Out of understanding. This wasn't my crisis anymore. I took a long shower, let the steam fill the room, and stood there thinking about how absurd the last 48 hours had been. How quickly everything had fallen apart the moment I stopped holding it together. For years, I thought I was helping them stay afloat. But the truth was simpler. I wasn't helping them float. I was keeping them from learning how to swim. And the moment I stepped away, They finally hit the cold water of reality. I brushed my teeth, threw on a t-shirt, and climbed into bed with the lamp still on. As I reached to turn it off, the phone buzzed one last time. I almost ignored it until I saw the name. Dad. A text. Short. Unlike anything he'd sent before. Dad, 11:48 p.m. Son, your mother wants to ask you to come home for Christmas, but she's too proud to say it herself. I didn't move. Didn't answer. Didn't even breathe for a second. He sent another. Things are falling apart faster than we expected. We didn't realize how much you were doing. We should have. I should have. That one hurt in a different way. Not like manipulation. Not like guilt. Like truth breaking through the cracks. And then, the last message. Just tell me what you need from us. Please. Please. A word I'd never heard from my parents. A word they'd reserved for strangers, neighbors, cashiers, never their own son. I read the message again. Then I looked around the apartment. The quiet. The new laptop is on the desk. The fresh start is waiting for me tomorrow. My life, finally uncluttered. For the first time, I understood something clearly. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't trying to teach them a lesson. I wasn't trying to get revenge. I wasn't trying to punish them. I was simply done living a life I didn't choose. I typed back, I need space. Just that. No lecture, no monologue, no list of demands. Dad read it instantly. I saw the typing bubble appear, disappear, appear again, disappear again. Then finally, okay, one word, but the right one. I put my phone on silent, turned off the lamp, and lay back in the dark. Tomorrow I had meetings, projects, onboarding, new coworkers to meet. A whole new world that didn't see me as a walking debit card. My family wanted $50,000. They expected obedience. They demanded I play the role they'd written for me. And now? They were finally learning what life looked like without me holding everything together. And I was finally learning what life looked like when it was mine. I closed my eyes, breathed in the quiet, and let the thought settle like a final, clean ending. I didn't lose a family. I stepped out of a system.